Yes.
All right, folks, we are live.
We are.
It's Valerie.
That's Valerie.
Can't say something, everybody will see it.
Hey, sir. Listen, do you remember my past? Yeah, I did. I can't get my. How come my mouth isn't working? No, it's working, but that's not. It
Mike's
froze.
gonna be here.
When you get to this.
Hey, can we please silence all phones?
Oh, wait a minute, here's a GOC star that died.
Mr. Flynn. Mr. Flynn.
Alex,
Mr. Flynn, could you turn your phone down?
and Shannon has something that she needs to stand up and say tonight.
Shannon, are you gonna give a speech? That's perfect, awesome.
She's gonna present for me.
Shannon Hines, ladies and gentlemen.
She said she needed to really learn the job and get to know everybody. That's what she wanted to do.
Awesome.
Shannon's gonna hate me for it, though.
Yes, ma'am, you got a few minutes.
Rising GOP star who fought mandates dies of COVID. Oh, I've had that. That's 10,000 minutes. So it lasts forever. So then if I get mad, you might throw it out. It does. I don't hardly ever have to charge. I mean, charge my phone. It charges all the time. They just have a full car. Hey, Mercedes, come here. Why? I didn't bring you no green. Kim's already supposed to crawling. Yeah, I've actually got another one ordered. My other one, the charging port, I ordered another one. It should be here tomorrow. But it's kind of a.
Don't Joyce have one that she gives to Jason?
It's a little bit slow, but it's 8,500 million ounce. What's it called again? That one's this is 10,000. So it lasts forever. You can plus the other jump on that. Only one that I have found is that many. I'll tell you what, I got these. Look, for New Year's, we were going to go eat crab barrels in July, so we got the food. So for New Year's, I grilled steak, and we had black eyed peas and Mexican cornbread. I'm not cabbage. Look, say, and I come that cornbread up on them things. Put pictures on there. Put that sweet picture on there. Yeah.
They're not be January. Is it monthly or they just want to do it one time?
My time off, I got a lot of work done.
Well, just
I'm back to work. I start praying more. Not gonna lie. Yeah, for patience.
Just check with Joyce. Or y'all need to.
Well, without they need to authorize.
I would work with them.
Did you lock the car? The car's locked. You want me to go get it for you? I don't think you'll be able to. What time is it? Ooh.
We still got stay like a.
That clock's wrong. How you doing, lady? You want me to? Huh? No, it's wrong with me. It's 6 o'clock right now, so
That clock's still wrong.
I have changed them batteries. They last about 2 weeks.
Okay.
Okay.
We got all the collisions.
Well, let's see, where is that?
You what?
Well, it's come here. Like already done.
No.
Which one? Right there. Right out there. No. Thank you.
One day she'll tell you.
I know.
I'll tell you wrong one day.
I know, she usually does that anyway.
Just getting you ready. Just getting you all. That's what our operation is.
Mhm.
No maintenance on
I'm downloading. I cannot see nothing. My eye. Right, here we go. Let's zoom in on it here.
I believe they do. All right, I got a call of order. All the aldermen are here except Mike Lott. He will be here. He is running late. We've got Clerk Melissa Martin, Attorney Rocky Eaton, and if we could, let's get Blake Nobles to say the prayer and lead us in the pledge.
Father God, we thank you so much for the start of this new year. We pray for wisdom as we begin and that you guide us throughout the entirety of this year. That we learn from the best examples that we have in the city and that we treat our residents well. Please be with all of us during this meeting and give us the strength to carry on in your name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, let me see if I can get this correct. We got 2 additions to the agenda. A motion to adopt the agenda with the additions of a list that you've got to being a titanium sponsor of the 5K run. I'd like to add that to the agenda. And yeah, 500, yeah.
Where's that going at?
Yeah.
General business?
Or a number to be decided, I guess we should say.
I'll make a motion to accept the
Well,
agenda.
it's not
let me-
finished.
Let me add, even against the advice of
Yeah.
clerk, I would like to add a request by Valerie from Cosmopolitan Club that they use at 4:30
4:30, the meeting begins, yes.
at the senior center. We never
January
charge it,
13th.
so it's not a fee-based thing, but it's given information to use the facility. Joyce over there usually has a key that she gives them, so we'll put that on the agenda as well at the end under general business. Is there a motion to approve the?
One other addition, are we gonna talk about these properties? Since the
Yeah, there, I think they're probably signed up under comment. Could you go ahead and comment, Valerie, if you don't mind?
If not, can we just add them underneath the whole business?
They should be, are they on income?
No, I didn't see, no, they're not, but yeah, we can add them on. Matter of fact, at the end would be good.
Yeah.
I was actually gonna move them there, because that'll probably be fairly lengthy.
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda with the changes.
Is there a second? First and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Is there a motion to accept the consent agenda?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All righty, public comment. Mary D. Sims. I want to put the D in there,
Yeah, I'm up now.
I'm
Trying to stay away from this virus going on. We'll have some packets from the last board meeting when we talked, talking about pay raises and that type of stuff. That's what this packet is. I'm not gonna talk about it tonight, per se, besides, what y'all can do to get us a meeting to go over what we have lined out for the fire department as pay raises and stuff like that. That's a two-step process, but you can see in the packet of information that we've got there what we're requesting. About it. If I got any questions?
If we have questions, do we just come back to you directly, or do you wanna come back as a forum of the group?
either, I think either way, huh?
Either way, I would like to have a forum so I can explain the difference between Kelly days, what Kelly days.
I should say either way, I should say both ways.
Right.
If you have questions in the meantime, I'm sure you'll be available.
I'll be available answering
And
the
then
questions.
obviously at some point we would.
Kelly days is a no-go. It's gonna cost the city too much for a Kelly day.
Aaron, I appreciate the hard work.
So,
Okay.
appreciate it.
Emily? Come on in here.
Hi,
So, yeah.
Oh, you back, good job.
nice to see you guys again. It's nice to be here. I was speaking in August and another time about water quality here, and I thought I would just give a little update on what I've found up so far. I called the health department and I said, can I get some public health records? I'd like to track, is there, indications maybe of heavy metal exposures. We're looking for a big part of arthritis is a big part of that. We're looking at Alzheimer's. We're looking at definitely rheumatoid arthritis would definitely be a huge indicator. I'm looking for different things, and I say, hey, do you have a public health record of what's going on in Petal? They say no. All we're tracking is COVID. So I just wanted to let you know that that's not happening. There's nobody seemingly protecting the health data that, maybe we could cluster some information and start compiling some data points. The city of Hattiesburg is hiring a lead program manager. They have recognized that there is a problem with lead in the environment here, and they're wanting to make sure to minimize that in children. So they're hiring an entire position to fill that. So I see that Hattiesburg has recognized that there is a heavy metals issue. When I've been talking to scientists and analytical labs who test for this, they say the EPA does not require for certain testing for years. That's what I found in the water report when I looked at Aarontown water report. It was very, very minuscule what was tested for, and the things that were tested for some of them were from 2018, for instance. One thing that's a major concern for me as a survivor of mercury and lead poisoning is that mercury wasn't even on there, Another factor that is really coming out for me is radiation potential. I hear that there was a nuclear bomb that was exploded not too far from this radius. So that was something that, maybe could be explored a little further. The salt dome explosions, I know there was payouts for exposures as a result of that. Hercules plant pays already millions paid out for toxic exposures. So I just wanted to say, my friend recently had another pet pass away. I think that we could be testing fat cells. We don't have to sit back idle doing absolutely nothing. We can at least start to see what's going on, see if we can get data points that are connecting dots, and in the least just start to figure out things. I'm trying to, the best that I personally can, to compile, a team to start tackling this, but I'm just one person. And I just have my own experience, my own knowledge and expertise, and I happen to see my own trends. So with that, I'm also a person not funded for something like this. I'm not a person who has a degree for something like this. So I think that a conversation in the least is at play, because it seems like we're all drinking out of the same well, so to speak. So thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you. Mr. Marlon Bruce? Hey, come on up here.
Good evening.
Hey, what is y'all's address?
It's 202 Corinth Road. We may not be speaking at the right time or
Oh,
on
no,
the, notice we weren't on the agenda. He had been told, at the water sewer department that they were gonna get us on the agenda tonight, but
Is Mike out there?
He was.
the item is that he has a septic tank, has had it all these years, 32 years he's lived at the address. He's also being charged for city sewer. And then recently when his septic tank went out, we tried to connect to the city sewer and it's not there. So we're kind of at a standstill now as far as how to get any type of service.
Let me ask you, would you be interested in putting the septic tank back in?
We would.
Okay. Mike might be able to add more to this, or I guess correct me when I'm wrong.
Are they there right there near the creek or?
Yeah, right near
Yes.
drop.
Yeah.
Drive
Yes.
from.
So we don't have
Stops
sewer
up
there?
at Oglesby.
Right.
You know, it doesn't extend any further, down the hill and it catches up on the other side of the creek. The only other thing you could do is run, a line down that way
Do
and
what
grinder
for
will be put in.
What's that, sewer bill? I think I can make a motion to where they paying the sewer now,
Yeah, just knock it out.
knock that out, and then y'all just replace the.
And we would give you a letter that says it, because I think the health department may, if you go in with a new system, probably have to have some kind of approval from us. I know we've done that in the past.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem making that recommendation. I think that location would also need a grinder pump as well. And typically, if there wasn't gravity flow, according to our engineer, we would forego the requirement to hook up.
How far is that from the,
It's a good little ways, because it's all the way up to Oglesby and they live down the hill,
Yeah.
almost to the creek.
we're talking hundreds of feet?
Probably, yeah.
202, that's before you hit Country Park Circle, going north.
Is it before
And then
Country Park
Yes,
Circle?
It is, yeah.
You're on the right-hand side, you have to, because there's nothing on.
Yeah, it is on the right.
They don't work.
Which house is that across from?
It's right on the creek.
Yeah, it's on the
Yeah,
creek. There's not any
Were they
houses
just cleared
across.
out the creek? So you're on the other side.
This side.
You're on the Carterville side.
I got it, yeah. I've been here for us.
So what do you think,
I'd
Mike?
be happy to come back.
The other side of it,
But I look.
Oh,
you guys are seeking some type of adjustment as well, weren't you?
That would be amazing if we could do that, but that was not the primary thing. The major thing was just getting a system, because at one time we'd been told that he couldn't replace the sewer, the septic tank. And then, of course, the option being go on to the city, and then since we couldn't do that.
And typically in that situation, the city would come in, like in my situation, they would come in and give you a grinder pump. Well, obviously, we don't want to go in and pay a couple grand for a grinder pump, and then we'd be on the hook for it going forward. If they're amicable to go with putting the system back in as well. State law allows us to go back 3 years as well. So if the will of the board would be to do that as well, we could let you guys go ahead and put another septic tank in.
Okay, so we would be able to get a letter, you said, for giving us permission. to do
Yeah,
that.
at some point, the health department will probably ask you for a letter from me, and I can provide that. Well, hold on a second. We've got a motion on the floor. Is there a motion also
Just a-
for?
For
Okay.
clarification, the city is not responsible for the grinder pump or not, or is?
Typically, we would. No, they go back to their old system.
We're not.
Yeah.
We just, they'll pay us.
I can tell you, I just had mine sourced, $2,700 for lines. That's without the tank on. Is your tank cement?
Uh-huh.
Then it's, your tank's gonna be
Tank's
fine.
good. Mhm.
You have the line, do you have the, I know that's a big piece of property, because I know where it is. You have the space there to do the lines for the perk without getting into the river.
Yes, yes, apparently so.
Yeah, I'll make that, and also I'm gonna add on,
3 years.
for a 3-year adjustment.
Okay, got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Uh,
I can never help you, let you know. I'll come see you guys.
Okay, sounds great.
you need anything else, let us know.
Good,
All right,
appreciate it, gang.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes.
That's it.
Valerie, you're on the list, but I added you to the agenda. So, anyway. No proclamations and resolutions, no bids and quotes, no old business. Let's, is someone from Slaughter and Associate here?
Mr. Clark.
He's
Oh,
coming.
yes.
Let's move him to the back, or when you get here.
Okay, we will pass on number 4 for right now. Number 5, is there a motion to request to adjust water services bill to 500 South George Street in the amount of $162?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Did you let them know that, that's their only?
I haven't talked to him.
Is there a second? I'll take that as a second. All in favor? Did you start putting that in the minutes?
He gets the paper he can sign.
Number 6, is there a motion to request to adjust water services bill to 144 West 10th Avenue, apartment 10, in the amount of $331?
Same motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Uh,
Motion to request a refund, a cash bond in the amount of $1,500. Is there a motion?
motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Uh,
Number 8, request to accept the planning commission's recommendation to grant a special exception allowing a concrete drive and gravel parking lot for a trucking yard on the parcel that is listed there. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second for
Motion and
discussion.
second. Go ahead.
all right. Can we get a little explanation where this is? I can't recall it.
It's Highway 11, City Barn.
Oh, okay, I got you. Okay, I'm good.
Say that again, Amy?
It's, Highway 11 and City Barn Loop.
Yeah.
It's the property right past, our street department.
Yes, okay.
Glad to see that over there. All in favor?
Aye.
Or now I should say, glad to see that over there. Number 9, request to set a variance hearing on January 25th at 6 p.m. for a property located at 21 Will Glen Drive. Motion?
Motion.
Discussion.
Motion, second, go ahead.
Yeah, Amy, just on these two, the 21 and 25, can you just clarify, because it asks for offsets, but the offsets are different from different standards. One, it says 20 from the rear, and the other one says 15, it's the standard. So,
Well, we had to make a correction on that. Both of them are 20 on the
Okay.
rear.
well, yeah, the documentation we have in front, yeah, so.
Yes, it's been corrected.
Okay. All right,
Just a record for us. I got a motion and a second, all in favor? Alrighty, same thing for our property located at 25 Will Glen. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 11 is request to set a variance hearing date for properties located at 107, 109, and 111 McKinnon Street.
Motion.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Number 12, request to set a zoning hearing for January 25th. Well, that's a big meeting for y'all, Amy.
Yes.
Property located at 511 South Main Street.
Motion.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Who was the second over there?
I'll take a second.
Who's the motion?
Let's don't fight over that.
Melissa, do you need to talk to them?
Melissa ain't
Make
gonna
sure I
take you out.
hear who's speaking.
Very much like- All right, number 13, request to approve the docket of claims for the month of December.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Discussion,
Okay, go ahead.
we have to do better than giving us, this is what we just received an hour ago.
I think that, yes.
That's, I haven't reviewed it. So,
How can we get?
yeah, that's,
I mean, we
I mean,
wait
it's,
for all the bills to come in, you know? I mean,
It always catches us on the first meeting and it
Yeah.
being this close, being the
always the
4th
first
instead of the 5th or 6th or something like that does kind of put us in a box, but I would like to, in the future, we'll try to do better on that. That's a good point, something I've mentioned in the past, but anyway, I got a motion.
cut
and
it
a-
off, not pay if it don't get here. Don't get here, don't get here.
I
Don't
like
get paid till the next
I
month.
actually like that.
Huh?
Huh?
No,
Just one month, being finished together.
I've been there, you don't wanna do that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Got a motion and a second is, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, number 14. Number 14 is.
There's Mr. Slaughter.
All righty, is there a motion that we sponsor for some number, the 10th annual Lighthouse Dash 5K run and 2-mile walk, which I have encouraged everybody that is employed by the city to participate in. Is there a number that we would like? The mayor's asked to see if we would even consider doing the commercial. That gets us on the T-shirt, et cetera, et cetera. I guess let's have a motion and then a second, and then we can ask any questions. Is there a motion?
Motion second.
Motion and a second.
Do we, the amount,
Number y'all want?
what is the amount for the commercial?
500. Be the low
Oh, I
end.
got it right here, I can figure what this side. I thought so.
And then I'll get you an application next to participate.
We've done 250 in the past, is that?
We've done
I've had
500
that
in the
conversation
past.
with her.
I'll make a motion, we do 500, let's just look
I
at
thought
that.
that'd be a conversation for her and Doug. but
Yeah, let's look at that.
Also draw people
Maybe
into town
come
that
out the-
normally isn't here. That's kind of a tourism.
Yeah, that's right.
Obviously, it's recreation.
I'll make a
Yeah,
motion
and
for
with all due
500.
respect to any other 5K or any kind of sponsorship, the cause that the task force is participating in is much more significant
Absolutely.
than just a fundraiser.
And I would note for the public that we can't make donations. So this would go under an advertising, and we will double check and see if we can pay something like this out of, and we're talking about $500, so it's not like it's, but to make sure if we can potentially pay that out of the 3%. So that's one of the things, and I know there's some exciting things from the recreation department. We've been able to, with the 3%, sustain that department and look for growth in that department over the next 2 to 3 years. So I think that's very important to know. Amongst the other benefits is that we will do tourism and we will do recreation at the end of the day when it's all said and done. Get a few more checks in.
Yeah, my motion is
But got a
500.
motion and a second. All in favor for 500?
Aye.
All right, and then
The senior
number-
center salary.
yeah, we'll come back to me. I got 4. Number 15 was to allow the Cosmopolitan Club access on, what was
Thursday,
it?
January 13th.
Thursday, January 13th for the Cosmopolitan Club at our senior center. There's a motion. Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Mr. Slaughter.
Thank you, Mayor.
Come on in here. Good to
Members of
see
the
you.
board, I've tested negative. I'm gonna wear my mask just to make everybody feel comfortable. And I appreciate you, allowing me to coordinate this with, a prior meeting and work that in. Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. I'm here tonight to present to you our benchmark plan for the redistricting. And
By way of information, this is a redistricting year every 10 years when the census comes out. Mike Slaughter and Associates, I'm not sure, he may be kin to the guy who runs the place, I don't know. But he's done a lot of work for the city over the past and did the 2010 redistricting as well. Oh, yeah, and a side note is Petal has grown. When it comes to Forest County, most of the growth is happening in the north part of the county, which is a good thing.
it is a good thing. All right. Ready?
Lay it on.
All right, I've handed out to you the PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to flip through. The bottom line is, I'll let the cat out of the bag first, is that the city is out of balance. And I'll go over those slides. We need to be less than 10% when we take the ideal population of the city, divide that by the 6 wards that you have. That will give us an ideal population. So what we do is take that ideal population, the percent difference between that and the largest populated ward, percent difference between the ideal population, the smallest populated ward. Add those two together, we want that to be less, we want that to be 10% or less. That's sort of the test for one man, one vote principle. Well, here we're 18.8%, which probably seems like a lot. We should be 10, but we're 18.8, but I've seen way worse than that. So I'm not really surprised that it is out of balance. We were just talking about that growth. And some of these slides that I have in here are redundant from the very first meeting we had where I just talked mainly about the redistricting process. Slide 3, in general, we have 5 steps. Step number one is determine if redistricting is necessary. That's the benchmark plan. That's what we're here tonight on. And it's important to let the public know why we're here, why we're doing the redistricting. It's not just something, hey, that the mayor and board decide we're going to adjust the ward boundary. It's something that's required to do by the Constitution, Department of Justice. The one person, one vote principle is what we've got to do, keep it in balance. So you have approximately equal number of population in each and every ward, so there's equal representation. In other words, let's just say if we were 6,000 people, we got 6 wards, and I'm just using that number for easy division. That would be 1,000 people would be the ideal population. If we put everybody in one ward and very few in the other wards, those very few in the 5 would have just as much representation as the majority of the population in Ward 1, and that would not be fair. So that's the reason for that. Later on, because we've got to redistrict, we'll have these other steps that we'll keep the public involved in as well. I'm going to flip over to, if you'll flip over to slide 7, and that's really this table that you see on our map, and there should be a copy of this map in the back. Yes, it is. But on here, you can see that Ward 5 is the smallest populated ward. I'm sorry, I misread that. Ward 4 is the smallest populated ward of 1,678. The ideal population is 1,838. Ward 5 is the largest populated ward of 2,024. And so those percent differences, Ward 4 is 8.7% under the ideal population. Ward 5 is 10.1% over. So that makes us, when you add those two together, we're 18.8% out. Now let's look at the Ward 1, 1.1%, Ward 2, 3.3, Ward 3, 2.7. What that means is those really, I like for those to be 5% or less. So really the wards that need to be adjusted are 4, 5, and 6. You see 6 alone is 8.5%, and we'd rather that be 5% or less. So those are the ones where we really need to do the adjustment. You can see on slide 8, we have a graphical depiction of the population of each and every ward on slide 8. And you can see the ones that are causing the issues. Really 4 and 5 are the ones that we total up to get the total deviation. But Ward 6 is out of balance, in my opinion, as well. The next several slides are particular to each and every ward. I provide with you the racial composition of your ward, like Ward 1, for instance, as well as how much out of balance, the total population, and how much out of balance your ward is, if it is out of balance. Everyone, none of them are ever on the ideal population. So you can see that we have that information, black, white, and other percentages, as well as the population counts for all the races, total population, how that compares to the ideal. And I have that all the way through Ward 6. And really, this is just graphical information that's in the table, where it's easy to read, easier to see than what's in the table. And then finally, we have a map, which is the same map that I have here before you in a larger format. So the bottom line, what I want to present to you tonight is the benchmark plan. It does reflect that we do need to make some modifications, especially so to 4, 5, and 6. That doesn't mean wards 1, 2, and 3 can't be adjusted. If there's some tweaking or something we'd like to do to those to make them make better sense, we could do that as well. But from a one person, one vote standpoint, 4, 5, and 6 will need to be adjusted. With that, Mr. Mayor, I'll turn the meeting back over to you, and I'll be glad to answer any questions you all may have at this time on redistricting the process or whatever.
Very simple question, where those of us that are at a -8, and that would, assuming just by basic math, that we would have to incur more of a population, we would have to grow.
That's correct.
To do that, somebody is going to have to shrink.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And that's,
I'm not getting anybody up there.
and that's one reason
I
I
love them all.
I put those bar charts in there, and that ideal population, you can see which ones are over, graph, and which ones are under on slide 8.
As long as we get it down under the 5% is what we're talking about.
I would like for each and every ward to be 5% or less, is what I would like.
Is the change primarily going to affect 6, 4, and 5, or to get them the proper demographics? Will that also possibly change 1, 3, and 2?
In theory, we should be able to do it between 4, 5, and 6, but I'm not gonna guarantee that it couldn't have an impact on some of the other wards. But in theory, you'd think we'd be able to balance those 3. And that's what I would prefer to do, is, hey, let's effectuate the least amount of change that we can in the redistricting. We can balance it up in those 3 and not follow the other 3. And that's what this board wants to do, then that'd be our first step, is to look at that.
Can I ask, hypothetically, and I know we're working off known data from census, but as we have the chance to manipulate and change the ward lines now, we know where there are subdivisions right now that are being, the next year or so, we'll have, another 100 or 80 houses. Is that something we should plan for or take into consideration?
You can anticipate that, yes.
If something's really close to 3% or 4%, and we know, 84 pound. Yeah.
You can anticipate that and say, okay, if we've got a area that's growing in a ward, we might want to make that ward a little on the smaller end, because it's going to be growing maybe more than some others. But that does not allow us to ignore the 2020 decennial census. We've got to balance it based on that 2020. But if we wanted to take that into consideration, the amount of growth or subdivision growth, we might have that ward under the ideal population as opposed to over. So yes, that does make sense to anticipate that new growth, even though we will redistrict on one number. That's the 2020 decennial census.
Do you need anything from us, Treasurer?
Yeah, what's the next?
Doing the next phase?
And there's 2 options here. And if you didn't ask that question, I was going to ask it. There's 2 options that I recommend that we move forward. One, oftentimes, the city or county will say, why don't you, right now we're out of balance. Why don't you prepare, talking to me, a preliminary consultant plan? And it's just a preliminary consultant plan, like you asked about those 3 wards. I might go back and adjust those, if that's possible, those 3, get it back in balance, and then bring that back to you. And you might say at that point in time, why don't we tweak this or tweak that? So that's one way. You can say, all right, Mr. Slaughter, or Mike, I prefer Mike, get it back in balance, bring it back to us, and let's see what we like and what we don't like about it. Or another option, option B would be, I could bring my GIS, my planner and GIS specialist, the computer, projector. We already have a screen. And you might say, what do we do if we move this to here or move this to here? And we can do that right here in a work session or board meeting or something. So those are 2 options. And that's where I want the direction of the board.
I think, I want you to just, y'all get it in balance and bring it to us and let us look at it.
That's what we did last time.
And that's what happens most of the time. Now, that doesn't mean once I get a preliminary consultant plan, and I put that label on there so y'all don't have to own it. It's a preliminary consultant plan, just for discussion purposes.
And one of the reasons, I guess I tell for the well, for the board as well and the crowd, one of the reasons you take a look at it before you go ahead and print it out, and you do it in pencil the first time, is you want to make sure you guys are still in the ward that you're representing.
We're gonna make sure of that.
So,
We're gonna make sure of
Three
that.
of us are all of us.
I'm not, Mike and I aren't worried about it, but,
Yeah.
good luck with the rest
Two
of
of us
y'all.
are getting, two of us are getting bigger.
I'm rooting for y'all. I just want y'all to know that.
Yeah, we're rooting y'all get
So-
put in the same ward.
Yeah, 3 of y'all in the same ward. It's gonna-
Yeah, it may not be the 3.
So even if you direct me to do that preliminary consultant plan, that doesn't mean at some later point, you might want to say, Mike, bring your GIS guy. Let's still have a work session. Let's do some tweaking that way. Maybe not, more than likely not, but that option's still there too. So if I'm hearing the board to go ahead and prepare that preliminary consultant plan, get it in balance, I'll send it back down here to you, and then we can set up a meeting, a follow-up meeting if we need to.
That's my motion.
That's the motion. Is there a second?
Well, like, as part of that, can you give us an update of where we stand on our finances for this contract?
Have you built us yet? Anything?
I don't know if I billed you anything.
We like it that way.
It's like
We like it.
1600.
Keep it like that.
Keep it going. Keep rolling that, keep rolling that number.
1600. Yeah, less than 2,000.
Okay, that's a good number too.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Thank
Carry
you.
on, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Mike, appreciate
What I
it,
will
sir.
do is I will leave this big version of the map, since y'all have a smaller version. I'll leave that right there. We'll go back and prepare that preliminary plan. And then as soon as I get it, I'll shoot it down here to Melissa and get her to distribute that, or we'll put them in the mail. Then we'll go to the next step.
Awesome.
Thank you very much. Happy
Thank you,
New
Mike.
Year.
Stay safe, man. Be careful going back.
Thank you very much.
So yeah, let's go ahead and handle that, and then we'll handle that. Y'all stick this.
Hey, look at that. Hey, John. Yeah, yeah.
Well, not last.
Yeah, but pretty close. Yeah.
I don't think that's long anyway.
It won't.
But anyway, no seminars and travel. We'll come back to our Jimmy Dale and Brad Jennings. No seminars and travel. Ordinances, number 16, I guess. Request to review ordinance prohibiting boring, digging, excavating, and trenching without obtaining a permit. You guys have the information, so we're definitely not voting on this, other than I guess this is to go over knowledge. You got it. Motion.
I'm gonna second. We got it.
All in favor?
Get some discussion.
Take it
Yeah,
under
we
your
talked
advisement.
after y'all had a chance to look over it. And obviously Amy,
Are we on the discussion or no?
I mean, I
Well,
don't think
there's
they
some
know
people
enough.
here that want to, I don't think they signed in for public comment, but I think there's some people who want to
Talk about that
address
ordinance.
some code issues.
Oh, yeah. Who is it?
Do we have any people who?
Do you want them to sign in?
I guess if y'all want them to.
Yeah, let's.
Just for the record.
Yeah.
I'll put it up there.
Who's still a name right on the record?
Yeah, come on up.
As they come up.
If anybody wants to address the board on some code issues, just get you to sign in and you can speak to the board.
And give us your name and where you live at too.
Yes, my name is Joseph Sheridan, SHURDEN.
Good evening.
GBA, Mississippi Joe from Salmon, Idaho. We come down here in the south for the winter.
What's going on, Mr. Sheridan? What's happening?
I live at 6 Camilla Road, lot 32B. The inspector came out one day a couple of months ago, and I already done told the people that run that trailer park about the mold. And I want you to see these pictures with this mold. They won't do anything. They took, well, let me back up. When we moved in April, lady across the street, as I was unloading the car, come over and said, introduce herself, introduce myself. And she said, sir, you're elderly and your wife is elderly. You have no business moving into this trailer. And I said, why? Because she said that trailer was consumed with mold. I rented the place 3 or 4 days the last 3 or 4 days of March. We were supposed to move in on the 1st of April, but they weren't done painting. These people that work for them went in there and put the darkest gray enamel paint on the walls, and it was to cover up, I finally figured out it was to cover up that mold. Now, my friend here come over and took pictures a little while ago, and she can show you these pictures. The
Carrie,
cabinets have holes in the backs of them.
What have holes in the back?
The cabinets,
The cabinets.
you cannot put anything in the cabinets. I put everything on the dining room floor to keep the rats from eating the labels off of the, and eating the cereal up and anything's in a box. I bought boxes and boxes of rats, which you're gonna see one of them in this picture that died in the last day or two. Every 2 or 3 days, I go in that bathroom. There's 10, which you'll see the pictures. There's 10 on the back walls. Some kind of wood on the 2 end walls. And you can see through these pictures, the mold is bleeding through. Every 2 or 3 days, I go in there with a scrub brush with like dishwasher soap or floor detergent and bleach and scrub them down. They won't fix it. I've written them 2 different letters when I paid my rent and several times. I've gone down there umpteen times. Could you please fix this? This is affecting my health. So in July, I have to go to a preliminary doctor. And now it cost me, since July, it's cost me $47 extra a month to get these breathing medicines. Now, last week, well, it took almost 2 months, month and a half or so to get my wife, because it's affecting her. Okay.
Mr. Sheridan,
It cost me $350.
Now, I know, Carrie, you said that, what's going on over there?
At this point in time, Mr. Sully, it says I'm not allowed back on the property for any further inspections. I communicated with him by telephone. He assured me he was gonna resolve, I think there's a couple other trailers, the lady here is here.
They have a young baby.
But how long ago was this?
A couple of weeks back, I think that was the last time we spoke, but he told me to write or communicate with the owners, but he's there, not reply to any correspondence I've sent them.
Right. And another thing too is we got a Christmas thank you letter a couple of weeks before Christmas from the owner. I called, she had her number on the piece of paper. I called her and had to leave her a message to address these problems. I had to spend $315 last week, plus another $100 or almost $100 for her breathing stuff. Now, it's either this, pay the rent or don't pay the utilities. Or pay the utilities and don't pay the rent. We live on my Social Security check.
And Kerry, we do have, we got an ordinance that says says that you can go on that property.
Yes, sir. I'm working on that. We're gonna have to, I guess, give them certified letters.
You may have to get the police to go with you, but.
My reading of the ordinance explains that you are the code enforcement officer and that the law is behind you on this.
Yes, sir. I will probably have to obtain police, because Mr. Solly threatened to arrest me if I come back on the
Yeah,
property.
we've had some issues with this particular park.
I definitely want you to be safe.
You haven't seen this particular place?
Yes, I have.
Oh, you have?
A few months ago, when I made my initial request to have it repaired, and there's other trailers, there's several trailers like this. But I've been, Mr. Sully told me not to come back on the property. So
And another thing too, since August, my water bill has almost doubled. I asked them until the chickens come home. They finally, about a month ago, come over there. It's still leaking. And that could have a lot to do with the kitchen, the mold in the kitchen. I want you guys to see these pictures now.
Yeah, mold won't live without water. If you take the water away, the mold will die.
Okay,
So
I've
we have
asked them
growing mold
umpteen
as well.
times, and another thing too. Does anybody in here replace their light bulbs every couple of months? You go flick a light on, blows a bulb. I went and bought, at the mission store, bought a lamp to go above the entertainment center.
Amy, what would be your recommendation if we go in there and inspect that place this week and see?
I would, I mean,
Could
I think that
could we show you these
Yeah.
pictures,
Just
gentlemen,
so you can.
please?
That's fine, yeah.
Mandy?
Correct me, sir, you said you've been going to a pulmonologist. That's what you're trying to say.
And I just had about since July.
And that just started happening. And now your wife's going to the same pulmonologist and getting medication.
A different pulmonology and get medication.
And they're giving her inhalers and kill whatever.
Right, whatever in her lungs. Now, she just said, I can't stay here long, gentlemen, because she had a knee replacement this morning. And I can't leave her for long. But we love Petal. Police Department. Thank you so much. And another thing about them boys that work over there, they come over there to fix them pipes. They were so stoned, it took them 30 minutes
They're working on the
I
wrong
was-
side.
30
I was,
minutes
I was fixing
to fix a little old pipe.
I haven't been doing this job long, but I was fixing to tell you, hold it right there, but.
I'm not a
anyway,
drugger.
Carrie, Carrie.
I don't
get with
believe
you,
in drugs.
And we'll try to get this inspected and get this moving in the right direction.
Yes.
Appreciate you bringing that forward.
Yes, sir, and I appreciate all you folks let me speak. But see, now, it's right down to the cut. Either I pay the rent this month or I pay the utilities.
I got you.
Carrie, does that sound amicable? For you to get in there and.
Yep,
I will,
I don't pay the rent,
no,
they'll kick me out.
I'm gonna arrange it with my supervisor and perhaps get a police escort. and
We will
come back
have
in
police
and do the
escort
inspection.
But couldn't I let my Miss Mandy show them the pictures? Let
Gary,
somebody-
Gary, one thing about it, if you got police escort, he can't arrest you. So you
Mayor, just a question, just, you know, we see this with other properties on where we try to, fix the health issues on land and issues. Because, you know, because landlords have tenants, renters, and like I said, I think the worst case there, we don't wanna condemn a building and then ask you to move out the next day. 'Cause
That's what they're gonna do.
And that's kind
My
of.
wife just
We don't
had
wanna be a
a
call.
knee
Yeah.
replacement this morning. And I can't afford to move.
So, I mean, there's second and third order effects. I'd like, you know, we have we understand that what we're doing, we have to make sure there's a plan for these families. Like I said, I don't have that in front of me right now, but I'm saying I'd like to make sure.
But I have to take 8 breathing treatments a day
Sir.
that I can't afford.
We're just trying to make sure that by fixing the problem, we don't make your situation.
Well, I've got a 44 Magnum and a 12 gauge shotgun. I just got rock
Hey,
salt for
Mr.
it.
Mr. Sheridan, we're good. We appreciate you coming. Now,
Thank
that
you.
phone,
Thank
your phone right
I'm
over
so
here.
sorry, I shouldn't have said that.
I'll have to,
Now, Miss Mandy can just talk about that mold in her trailer.
So we got my phone going around with a picture, yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Let's,
Amy, was there somebody else?
Get out of line there.
if we can, yeah,
That's a problem.
yeah. I would think you would take care if you get both.
To clarify those pictures. Real quick, what we're really doing is just basically a slumlord. They make a habit of doing these things and painting over mold and whatnot. And we understand it's a slippery slope between condemning a place and making livable conditions, but they have to have livable conditions. They have predetermined contracts with the landowner to provide livable conditions, so they need to honor that.
Are they stuck in a contract, like a yearly?
Yeah,
or-
they're in lease contracts.
Okay,
A lot of the people in this park are, and I've looked at several of these homes, and you can see where they put the gray paint over the mold, and we all know that, you know, black mold is very dangerous, especially with children, and a lot of people in the parks are up and coming and trying to get out of that particular kind of situation.
And, you know, if the courts are locked and get behind a couple of us, we should get it taken care of without any problem.
And that's, Kerry's here tonight, he's seen the pictures, he's been there before, and, as requested, he'll be taking police officers with him this next time. And so he knows where to look, and he'll be our eyes and ears to make sure that we understand the complete picture of the situation, and it'll get taken care of. Amy will be on it, Kerry will be on it, we'll find out about it, and so we'll address it.
I think the board is, would be willing to look at a special meeting if we need to act quicker than the next third Tuesday. I think let others would come in and help take care of it.
We can do that.
So, Kerry,
Appreciate that.
Sure.
do you know, about how long it would take you to be able to get out there?
I could be out there in a day or so. I would like to make sure, at least notify the occupants to do, that they can be there during the inspections, just out of courtesy. Have them time to, arrange.
Would the end of this week be better, do you think,
Perhaps.
or the beginning of next week?
Beginning of next week would be even better, sir, but some of them, Trey was about the remediation of the mold, you can't just paint over it, you have to strip it out and rebuild it, but that involves expense.
It's costly to take care of the back walls. I found that it's like a living, and it's impossible to paint over the walls and have it not come back because you're just covering up the problem.
But I'll be more certainly keep you on to
As quickly as you get there, Gary.
I will, yes, sir.
This week is better.
This
I'll
is just
try.
better.
Thank you, sir. We'll see what we can do for y'all.
Appreciate it, gang. We're number 17 or something back in general business. Mr. Jimmy Dale?
Yes.
Yeah, come on up.
I didn't add, no, it's on, we're adding it now.
Oh, go ahead, Mr. Jimmy Dale.
Well, yesterday, Kerry come by and told me if I didn't move a certain amount of cars, that he was gonna have them towed. Well, since I came down here and met with y'all last time, we lined all, everything up very neat. I got a guy that's, off to rent the lot and help me sell my inventory. And, he said, this is what I gotta do unless you come down and make some kind of arrangements with the board. Now, I drove around to all the shops and car lots in Petal, and they not but one or two that would conform to what Kerry is saying. So I went and talked to these guys, and they were supposed to come tonight. I don't know, how many of you here that I talked to? Can y'all comply with any of what Kerry is recommending?
I haven't had no problems out of them lately.
Do what now?
This is Danny. I ain't had no problems out of them coming mess with me lately, but we're not doing nothing wrong. Whatever we got there, we're either working on it or it belongs to us. And so I don't see a problem with us having that there because we're not bothering nobody with it. As far as the vehicle gotta be running, that's the reason we're there, to get on it. If that dot tag is stickered when they come, that's not my fault, but we're there to fix the problem. And that's where it's,
But-
that's where shops are.
But how many people come and ask you to fix a car
And leave it.
and they just leave it without telling you to
Many
fix
of
it?
them,
To fix it?
many of
And
them.
how long does it, long time?
I've had
does
for
it stay
18
there?
years.
Hey, Danny, can y'all,
And, or either they bring it and you get it fixed and they don't come pick it up. And it does,
can y'all, Danny, if something like that happens, what's the process, as far as y'all selling the car and recouping your money?
Well, most of the time, you don't get your money back out of it. You'll get part of it. You might get your parts, but all your labor and stuff, you just gonna
Yes,
get
sir.
lost.
Is
And most of
there-
the cars ain't worth taking shippers.
Absolutely, that's why they leave them too, isn't it? They gotta have somewhere to get rid of them.
When they
and-
bring them, they say, well, go ahead and fix it. I got you.
If we can, let's, Mr. Jimmy Dale, anything else? So what,
well, I told Kerry that, Greg Craven, who has come down and talked to Amy, and there's been a lot there, 60 years, had a permit there, a license there, but he comes down to get a license, and Amy has told him that he would have to come before the board to get that, and we gotta have it to send to Jackson.
He's already set for a meeting, isn't he?
It's for next Tuesday. Yeah,
He's gotta get a
next Tuesday.
variance, and why do we do that?
It's a
Because
it's a conditional use for auto sales and
On
that's.
any auto
Yes, on
sales,
any
yes.
auto sales and even in the C2.
I didn't understand what you said.
That every auto, no matter who it is, would have to come before the board and get a conditional use.
Well, anyway, this won't come up to next Wednesday night.
Next
Next
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
Well, right, next Tuesday, the 11th. So what I'm asking is to let this be until you see what you're gonna do on this location for the lot. If you approve it, which there's no reason that I can think of that you wouldn't, since there's been a lot there 60 years and a license and a permitted there for 60 years, I see no reason why you wouldn't okay it. And if you okay it, we'll be sending after the license, and it should solve everything.
Any questions from the board for Kerry or?
When you say solve everything, you mean the cars will all go away?
Sir?
When you say solve everything, because what we're trying to solve is.
You'll have to understand, I have a little hearing problem, so speak directly at me.
You basically can't sell the cars without, right now, the dealer's license they were in, Phil Gatway passed away. And you can't transfer any titles unless you're an actual dealer again. So he's getting a new license. His other license is lap. Basically, I get all the cars up to actually be to get titles to them to sell them. Because you basically can't sell a car like
Without
without a title, pretty much. And so you get to get the used car dealer license to transfer the existing vehicles and any connection to start moving inventory.
I got you. It's just when you said solve the problem, I just want to make sure that the problem is the same thing to you as it is to me. To me, the problem is there's too many cars there. There are too many cars on the property.
Well, is the size property I got in conjunction with the other guys, they're they don't have near the amount of land, but they got.
So you're saying we need to go do some inspections on some other people's properties?
Sir?
You're saying we need to go do inspections on some other properties?
Sir, I don't want you to mess with anybody, because all they're trying to do is make a living just like you are. And, as I've told some of y'all before, been in car business down there 60 years, been living down there 81 years. We moved there and on that spot 81 years ago, when I was 3 years old. And I want to get along with everybody and try to do what you want me to do. But, when you're trying to do the best you can, and I try to help peddle, I try to buy property and fix it up and rent it or lease it to people. And I've done the right smart up and down Central Avenue and over on the bypass in Hattiesburg. But you never get no recognition for the good things you try to do. It's just some things that a few, see, I don't see anything that those cars are hurting. They lined up good. You go to these other places and pedal, and I'm not wanting you to bother any of them, because they're not bothering me. But our stuff is lined up better than just about anybody except maybe Howard's, and Howard's got his lot looking real good. And but the majority of them are more.
But just to be clear, we're not trying to get cars lined up neatly. We're trying to get them removed from the property.
But why are you trying to get them removed of the property when the property is mine, the taxes is paid up to date? And I work every day trying to make a living, just like you do. But why are these cars bothering you? They're not, they lined up good, they for sale, and I don't understand some of this.
Amy, and Mr. Jimmy, I don't know where it got off track or whatever, but Amy, from a zoning perspective, that's not even zoned for a car lot, is it?
No.
Well, why would somebody okay it for 60 years if it ain't zoned?
I have no idea. At some point when we became a city, maybe, I don't know. Whenever that ordinance came in,
But so you see the problem here
it
is
may
your
predate the
lot's
city. I have no
not-
idea.
Your lot's not,
Well,
sir, your lot's not zoned.
sir,
Your lot
That's
is not zoned.
probably
as a
one of the
car lot.
overriding issues. Obviously, with Mr. Craven coming before the planning commission, there's an attempt to
well, I called him and,
right
he was in
route.
Mobile and couldn't be here,
That's fine.
but
we got him set up though for
Yeah, next Tuesday.
But
next
anyway,
Tuesday.
what are you gonna do with the grandfather law? They've been there 60 years.
Technically, that wouldn't fall under this. It's kind of like when I got annexed into the city. I would make a fireworks joke here, but anyway, I couldn't, all of a sudden I fall under those kind of rules and livestock rules and things of that nature, which I didn't when I first moved into that house. And everything. So I don't know when it didn't get approved to do that, but obviously it's been something that's just kind of went on and everything. So obviously I want to, I'm not trying to put anybody out of business or anything, but we want to, be faithful to the other people. Like you were pointing out other people, we get that pointed out to us too when we go out and try to enforce code. They come into us and say, well, you're not doing this or not doing that too. We get the laundry list.
And I don't want you messing with those people.
No.
They just
We did,
trying to live
I was actually fixing to say, we
like
do work
I
on
am,
a
like
complaint-driven
y'all are.
system, so.
And that is the thing, Jimmy, that most of it that when Kerry goes out and get, somebody's complained on it, and then if we have a complaint, we have to go check it out. And then that's when we find out if it's in code or it's not in code. So we're definitely not out there looking for it to do, we don't want to
I don't
call
think
anybody.
you can go to any of my neighbors and say that I'm doing anything that is hurting or devaluing their property.
Sir, I would argue against that whenever just last week we found an open cesspit that was on one of your properties.
That's right.
That's
But
been
I
there
didn't
for
put
quite a
it
while.
there. Mr. Archie Lee put it there a
But
long
it's your
time ago
property.
and it got directed. Now then, since you brought that up, there's two opening, sewer, connection there on Central Avenue. And I asked to be connected into those, which would have been near about the trouble that we went through to do it the other way. That guy hired to do it the other way. It would have been about 150 feet, but I was told that when the state highway department widened the road years ago, that they did not extend the sewer openings out to the edge, and to put them in there, they had to dig out into the street and mess up the street. And so, is Mike here? Did I ask you about the sewer connections that was out in Central Avenue? And you told me that they were so far out there that they wasn't brought to the line when the highway department,
Well, it wasn't feasible to go out there and tap into that sewer line because of the damage we do for the infrastructure.
but,
It was much easier to go the other way.
but they sewer taps there, but they wasn't brought up to where you could get to
There's a
them.
sewer line there, but there's no tap. Not on Central.
There's taps there, cause I had the man to find them for me.
Okay.
But
Mike, when was that conversation?
That was here a while back when we actually put that tap in over on, McKinnon's.
now he just put one over, but there's taps out there on Central Avenue right now.
The city,
But you can't get to them without going out into the street.
yes, sir. But the city put in.
But that's
another
not
line
my
of tabs
fault.
on the other line and has now waived a fee. But all of this has been a problem for quite a while.
But now,
And I just have a
if I
problem,
hadn't
I just have a
known,
problem with you saying that your property's not causing anybody damage when for a long time, the lots where the cars are were quite trashy with cars that were quite old and not taken care of and not being sold and not doing anything to be sold. And then on other lots where you have people renting out, you have 3 houses that have sewer lines that lead to the backyard of another house. And just left it.
are you talking about myself or somebody else's?
I believe your stuff. In front of the barn.
Sir, I'll be glad to drive you around and show you what I have accomplished in Tattle. And you drive me around and show me what you accomplished in Tattle.
Sir, I asked for my responsibilities.
Okay.
I walked around, knocked on people's doors and said, hey, I'm asking you to put your faith in me and give me the responsibility to live up to
Well,
the principles of my
I'm
office.
just saying,
You bought these properties.
I did, and I
They have
picked them up,
fallen apart and now we're asking you to do something.
and I did. And I'll
Then
do
why
this
are you here
other.
asking us to relax what we've asked?
Well, what I'm asking you right now, next Tuesday night, we got a meeting on, Greg coming, and you, okay, and it's lot BU, or car lot, and he's gonna help sell my inventory along with some that he's got. So, can we work that out or not?
I don't see anything changing here, because the people that have talked to you before wanted to buy those cars, you put such exorbitant prices on that they're not gonna buy them from you. So when you take those cars, you title them and you put them on a lot, and you put a $10,000 sticker on a $2,000 car, how are you gonna sell it?
Sir, they ain't no, have you ever sold a car?
Yes, my father was in the dealership business for years, yes.
Do you think I put a $10,000 price on a $2,000
I've
car?
spoken to many people that have told me that you ask too much money for the cars that you're trying to sell.
I've heard the same thing.
I don't see those cars moving.
Hey, can we go ahead and, can we expedite this? It's kind of a circling thing. Technically, it's either something, oh,
Yeah, just for the baseline, and I think we can just kind of go back from the board's policy and our responsibilities. I mean, we did a 90-day extension from the first incident, or for first request to go. We did a 90-day opportunity for you to resolve those concerns. And then we did a 30-day after that.
First of December.
For first of December, and now we're 35 days. The board has authorized you to, and the minutes say all cars.
Yeah.
That's what the minutes say. I just asked for myself as Ward 5 board member, I just asked you to execute the board's guidance. And then, because that's what the board's required.
I agree that it's time for action.
I think so. And I think you have and you've done due diligence, you have a process to pull the vehicles, not at the city's expense, so it's not costing us
And
anything.
I don't micromanage
So I
that
appreciate
department,
that.
but they do what they need to do. But obviously, they know the will of the board, and I actually work for these guys and for you taxpayers as well.
And I would just say, one last thing is that the property he's asking for, I think, sir, for the conditional use is only one of 3 lots that have cars on it. So regardless of what happens next Tuesday, he still has to go before the board for another 2 weeks before that. But that's only one piece of the property. You have 2 other parcels that have cars on it. And that's,
This
Mayor, I just ask you to execute the board's guidance.
This license, we required, we put all 3 of those on it, which you can do. One license covers that. And one permit covers that. According to your own,
If you would, I have a question.
Yeah,
I
go
rent
ahead.
the building from Mr. the floor for the shop.
Yeah, go ahead.
I've got about 10 or 12 customer cars. I've about 10 or 12 personal cars. So I moved several of them this morning as well, get them away. But I buy cars as well, wrecked or broken, they got the full man fix them, then I'll put them out in the Moselle and sell them. I was told basically 2 cars per base, only 8 cars on the premise. I mean, there's no way, I mean, I can understand like having tons of cars, but there's no way I could, you know, I basically don't want to come to work in the morning and see, you know, A-Pro towing in there towing my crap away from my shop. Because, I mean, I have several vehicles there, several customers' cars. So I just want to basically make sure that till whenever, I'm not gonna.
And you're saying you have 24 cars?
There's probably, I mean, not probably 24 cars. I mean, I personally own 70 cars myself. So.
I thought, me and Amy's been discussing this a lot, too, and I do think that the 2 cars per bay is not enough.
Yeah.
So I think that's something we really look at, because, I mean, you got two, if you own a mechanic shop, and you have 2 cars per bay, you ain't gonna be able to do much.
Just in storage, I've probably got 35 customer cars that have never picked them up. And I've got them sitting over in a pen. And so just, I mean, yeah, nobody ever, people leave crap all the time. And most of them, like you said, it's not worth anything in hauling across the scale, because they'll bring a 9400 Accord and get you to put a $300 head, $800 in labor, and then leave it. And, but, I mean,
After you do the work, they decide it's not worth it.
Yeah. And so I just don't want stuff getting towed within the next.
The board's actually acting off a different ordinance in this case. That is an ordinance that we need to address at some point.
Yeah.
But that's kind of not something that we're looking at right now, especially in this instance.
Yeah. But basically.
But we are looking to look at the board's gonna look at that at some point, hopefully this spring.
I'm just trying to get stuff ready for tax season.
Oh, yeah, and you wouldn't be towed without notice.
And,
anyway.
okay, well, I'm not getting towed.
Yeah,
You do need to identify which cars are customers of that business entity versus. Yeah. But thank you for being a business owner, working for us.
So you're actually rotating cars out, or you're trying to actually do something with them. They're not growing over in vines, they're not sitting in the middle of the field. You've got them locked up and restrained in some way.
I mean, in retrospect, man, I do own 70 something cars. So I mean, I buy cars, piece 2 or 3 together, then haul the scraps across the scale. And then,
And they're moving.
and it's, I mean, I'm trying to
Say that again, you haul the scraps across the sale.
The scales.
Yeah. You know, it basically, I'll pick bones, you know, if I buy a red car that has a good motor, I'll pull the motor out, the body goes across the scale, then I'll put the motor in the new one and try to get it ready.
Is there a crusher service that's available that you can call and then come pick up scrap cars?
You have to have 100 cars or plus, and they.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's a little bit different from what we thought, wasn't it?
No, there's at least 100 cars.
Well, there's a little
Over here
bit.
back behind the gas station. They just moved over there.
Mr. Odom, to address this, we're not trying to treat you any differently than anybody else. I know that we're coming down hard, but we have given you those 3 months, and then we gave you.
You have, and I
this.
have worked to try to satisfy you. I moved all over there
Not
on,
the first 3 months.
sir,
The first 3 months, I believe, not much got done.
sir.
And that was the largest amount of time that we
A
all.
lot of those 3 months you're talking about, we had a lot of rain. And you just can't say 90 days and you can work in all those 90 days.
We expected to see
They
something.
were, the city couldn't even keep up
And
with some of the work
That's why I'm
during
telling
that time.
you, we're not trying to treat you any different. Like
Yeah.
if somebody else, we've got other, properties that have problems.
Yeah, I see you do.
We've told those people the same thing. It's like, look, if you make progress and bring this back to us, we'll work with you. And then for those 3 months, we didn't see any progress. Now, this past month, we have seen progress, and we appreciate that. But at the same time, seeing those lots the way that they were, knowing what we actually requested, and seeing some of the situations in some of your other lots, I and a few of the others are a little bit frustrated at continuing on, because I do understand how much you've done for this city, and I understand that you've benefited the city, but also understand that a lot of these properties are problems, and we have more to address in the future. And so it's hard to keep giving these delays, because we might be given delays for 3 years. I don't want to do that. I want to address these issues and get them solved.
Well, let me ask you this. Next Tuesday night, Greg folks come before y'all who wants to lease my lot and wants to lease one of my other offices. Or he wants to put his Humana insurance business in. And, can y'all wait till you can talk to him and see if you're gonna approve him? And if you do, it solves a lot of it.
Just from a planning standpoint, I think Kerry was supposing to take action towing vehicles on Monday.
can you start on the lots that Craven ain't gonna be here on Tuesday? So now that we've got more than one lot.
Start anywhere.
Let's start yanking the vehicles from the other two lots that Craven's not coming before us on. Can we do that?
He enjoyed it. He agrees with all lots.
I'm sorry, can we hold on Mr. Odom so I can hear Gary?
That was the reason I gave notice to Mr. Odom and Mr. Reagan, anything automotive, to identify your customers' cars, because tomorrow, had tow trucks lined in to start moving the vehicle. He asked me,
I mean, I got tow trucks if that's what you want done.
he asked me to delay that until he speaks with the board and mayor. I said they could, of course, override any decision. I'm going under the previous orders of the alderman and mayor.
Is Craven wanting to buy the anything automotive lot?
No, sir, just that fenced-in area next to the insurance, a little small chain link fenced-in area.
And the conditional use is only for the chain link area, based on my review of the packet.
That's correct.
The other two parcels are still, we'll still have cars that are not licensed, authorized, or.
Can we start pulling cars from those other two lots?
Absolutely, yes, sir.
And start there?
Yes, sir.
And wait on the third lot until we hear from the planning commission on Tuesday?
Yes, sir.
Well,
But that was my problem, is I have about 24 cars there now that are my personal and customers. And, on the 404 West Central.
I did not know this until yesterday. He also.
Because I personally own about 75 cars, but I only have about 20 there, but I work on several at a time.
That he, beyond his customers' cars, he does sell a few cars on the side at that location, which I informed him is not legal at this time.
Yeah.
What was your timing of this?
Tomorrow morning, I have people lined up, sir.
But I got a question. What two lots are y'all talking about, start pulling cars on?
Across the, you're leaving town, across the railroad tracks?
On the right.
Right in the craft all over.
West Central.
Yeah, going down,
A lot of
going down,
cleanup.
going down
The gentleman been there and they've done a lot of progress. And,
Central.
Greg is the only one, it's Miss Kraft's son here. I'm just a friend trying to figure out what's supposed to take place. You got a lot of customers' vehicles sitting there that they gotta be worked on. But Greg is the only mechanic there and he can't get to all of
This
them.
is a different location.
Yeah, this is different
crowd.
That
We're
doesn't
not
come
worried
before
about the
us.
ones that are being worked on.
It did a while ago.
It's just ones that are.
Well, they're grass.
All that cleaned up.
not only this lot, but, Greg is asking for these other locations to be included, for cars to be on too.
I'll be honest with you,
That's
that'd be,
not what the,
I
request
can't say what the, planning commission's gonna do, but that would be a pretty high bar, I'll go ahead and tell you.
Well, they've done it in the past, the lady is okayed it in the past.
Is Greg just asking for variance on one lot?
It was just that one.
So he's not asking for three.
When
according
he's
to
supposed
her.
to be asking for 3.
I can't tell you what he's supposed to do. I'm telling you what he did and didn't do, and he hasn't asked for it.
Okay,
Have we approved auto conditional? Would have only been down there at the, at the old, not the Waffle House, the old Huddle House. Strahan.
Auto sales, that one in Howard's.
Yeah, we approved
Y'all approved Howard's also.
Okay. Okay, right.
well, what I'm trying to do is I've got records, if that's what I gotta do.
I think right now, if I make a motion, they're gonna, that sucker's gonna die a cold, hard death of, nobody making a motion. I'd make a motion.
Well, I mean,
Or no,
nobody wants,
I would request, I would ask for a motion, thank you.
I don't think anybody
I'm
wants.
getting my place.
You've grown up.
We'll meet with
They
records.
wouldn't allow to do it. My suggestion would be to get with Kerry and see if you can work something out with him, because obviously we're gonna get our information from him. Obviously, we can ride by there, but we're gonna ask Kerry, just like we have tonight, Kerry, from a code standpoint, where are we at? And that's what these guys are gonna vote on that side. So I would talk with him and see if, you know, if you wanna start moving some of them, or how do you wanna arrange
Well,
it?
if you're gonna tell me to move them all, I'm gonna move them all,
We've been telling you
That's
to
what
move
we've
them
been
all
telling
for
you.
6 months.
sir.
They've been telling you for 6 months to move them all.
Well, now, I've told you, I've got this guy coming for y'all next Tuesday
It's
night.
only on one lot.
Well,
I mean,
I asked him then for free.
if he got approved, then you could bring him back, to that one lot. But I'm probably sure that's probably what Terry's gonna wanna hear, is I'm either calling that tow truck or you can tow him. Is that what you're?
One or the other, sir.
Yeah.
I'll be glad to give you the option of moving yourself, sir.
I mean, I-
He has
that's out of my hands.
I have to. So we can always.
I mean, you've been taking them across the highway levy anyway, some of the other things.
Well, let's you and I talk in the morning.
I'll be glad
And,
to.
I don't know where it gets cold in the mornings. It's been the last 2 mornings, but on up around 10:30.
See you at 10 o'clock.
You holler at me, I'll holler at you. Every week,
I'll holler at
and
you.
we'll try to reach some.
But again, this is something we're not wanting to do. It's just, we are having so many complaints that we don't, and when we have complaints, we have to do something. 'Cause, we've worked with you, and like I said, I've always wanted to work with you. And like I said, we've done all we can do without,
Well, I'm gonna get with Terry and work with him and
Please
try
do,
to,
yeah.
and try to do whatever he requested and allows me to do. Me,
I just want us
myself,
all to get along and.
I don't see where I'm hurting anybody, but, nobody that's connected to me, their land connection to me is, in other words, you ain't getting no complaint from them. Anybody that touches my land that I join, I don't think you're getting any.
And we don't know who we get complaints for, because we don't get their names. They just, like I said, they complain, we have to go check it out.
And, but anyway, I'm gonna get with Carrie and we'll try to work it out, and then we'll work on this other deal next, Tuesday night and see, what that comes to be. Is that where we're gonna stop at?
Yeah, I think so.
That's perfect.
Yeah. I'm gonna see you
Okay,
about-
then. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you, Dale. Thank you.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, can I ask a question, and then I'm going home?
No, we've got more meeting to do.
This thing right here, you're talking about, we going over, somebody gonna have to talk like we gonna have to have, another alderman. Where he
No,
talking
we
about.
won't have another alderman. They'll just change up who we represent.
Oh, and like we start changing aldermen and talking about my alderman. got two
Hey, you
in,
gonna keep
You
me?
just gonna leave him alone.
This is
So
your
you
best,
just-
hey,
We're
this
all
is
like
your
you.
best,
We all like
And
you.
I'm quite
this is your
sure,
best chance to get rid of him.
and I'm quite sure the other people that got their aldermen, they ain't gonna wanna get rid of theirs either.
You can anonymously request to be moved.
Thank you, Miss Ada. I appreciate
But
that.
I just want, I was saying that, listen, and about changes, some changes was gonna have to be made, but I want my alderman to stay right where he is.
That costs $50.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll give it to you later.
Anyway, it's
Thank
somebody
you.
from
You're welcome.
Kraft here.
Yeah,
That we're gonna see.
That's
Yeah,
him.
come on up.
Just to give you a very brief breakdown, I gave him the same notice, and he's here to ask.
Okay, got it. I know more about that than I did with you guys. What's going on here? Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. As a matter of courtesy, I went by and spoke with the other gentleman and yourself this morning, and said I could start towing vehicles, but you asked for an extension due to, they've done some work, you've probably seen the pictures, they demolished that old building, but they're asking for some leeway with their vehicles that are remaining. And that's what he
Wasn't
said.
it dealing with the fence too or something? The
The fence
fence?
is gone, and did y'all ever put that back up?
We got a new fence to go up.
Okay.
They just haven't repaired it yet. I asked them to keep it down because we'll have to access that area in case they start towing vehicles.
And he started, and he is on his mechanic. I went by and talked to him the other day, and
Or some of the vehicles
They
are
won't
basically
go in.
abandoned, aren't they?
Well, a couple of them are.
Do you go and get liens on them from the county, or how does that process work?
They stay there long enough, I'll call them timbers or whatever.
Okay.
Dispose of them.
what's something like that usually get off of a car?
We go across the scales, about $2.53.
See, I had a Kia one time, and I made the joke, Danny Warren was in it, and they waited with him in it. He's worth 7 cents a pound. True story. That's what you need to do.
That metal's not up there much, is it?
Ride through there with them, maybe get 3 or 4.
Please understand, this has been going on for 60 years. Right. Not in your case. You keep moving stuff, you're trying to make a living, you're actually doing something to improve. Oh, yeah. We're not moving, he's just shuffling cars around and hiding them behind places. That's the problem. You're actually making a move to make it better.
I'm trying.
So just as a question, how many cars do you have left, roughly?
To move, probably, I don't know, probably 5 or 6. No,
At least 5 or 6 dilapidated junk vehicles. He does have some vehicles that he's working on. I don't know that, I would say probably about 8, I think I counted today. And then there are a couple that are left there abandoned by the customers. He could put a lien on.
That just baffles me when somebody carry a car to get it fixed and just leave it.
Oh, no.
If you got a process, you have to go through.
Oh, yeah.
But
I know, it's just still there.
If y'all had seen the
Most
before
people, you
pictures,
think
they-
take pride in their
They
stuff.
hauled away literally tons of debris
Oh, yeah.
and garbage. They're getting there so far as that. And with the vehicles, he's assured me that he's gonna have them moved this week.
Hey, thank you for all that work. Like, I know it's not easy.
We're trying to do, me and one of us, we're trying to do it ourselves.
I know it's
Still
hard.
trying to run a shop.
Where do you carry them? Where are you carrying them at?
What ones I can, you know?
Sir, considering the work that you've been doing, everything that we see, and from the recommendation of our code enforcer, I make the motion that we give him another 30 days to finish this out and then come back, report to us and see where it is.
What's our expectation after 30 days?
Get an update.
Well, I mean, Kerry already has the power to put towers out there, right?
Yes, sir. That's why out of courtesy, I was informing them to bring the trucks in, but they asked for another extension. And I said, I cannot give that myself, but y'all can.
Oh, how many days do you have?
2, 3. You do have 3.
Well, we basically have our first meeting on the 1st of February.
On that one?
It's actually on the 1st, yeah.
And so the main ones that you're looking to get rid of would be the junk ones?
Right, yeah.
Okay, then, 30 days to finish removing the junk ones. And is that all that we really had to address?
And the cleanup is continuing at a rapid and acceptable
That's all we
pace.
want.
Mr. Kraft, that's a never ending thing trying to keep something like that, cause you got to.
Big time.
We appreciate everything that you've done so far, so, yeah, 30 days to remove.
Hey, Craig works day and night. He works more at night than he does in daytime.
Didn't nobody.
Can you say that motion again?
Motion to give him 30 days to remove those 5 junk cars and report back to us in 30 on what the status of his property.
Second.
I should have been done by the end. Sounds good, sir. Thank you.
The intent is to regulate the most.
Got a motion and got a second?
Yes.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
We're done, sir.
Carry on,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Thank you, Mr. Kraft. Stay down, I said, hey.
Any other final thoughts from anyone? We see a need for an executive
Hey,
session.
Mr. Kraft, tell Red, I said, hey,
I'll do it.
hope you get feeling better.
All right. I'll do it pretty good.
Appreciate your work, man.
Is there a motion to see the need for an executive session?
What?
Roman.
The last one?
Is it
Legal.
Okay, yeah.
Legal for.
Yes.
Motion.
You can't say it.
Motion is a second.
Potential litigation contract dispute.
I'll second that.
Is there
Yeah, I've
a,
seen it. I just want to make sure.
got a motion and a second, all in favor?
Uh,
Hey, all righty, guys, that was it.
Carrie, are you on your way out?
I'll call you later.
Okay.
Are you on your way out?
I'm gonna give you, hey, I'm gonna give you.
Go ahead. As far as the trailer park goes, we'll be on your time frame. As soon as you can get all that taken care of.